So today we have Kevin and Amy Dettmer, and although we've talked, we've never really met. So I'll let you guys go ahead and start where you want to start, because I find that people tell their own story and they know what they want to say. There are some things I want to ask you as we go, but what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I wanted to talk about the derailment and the night that it happened. We had my grandson. He spent the night.
Okay. What do you need? Your shoes?
Yeah, I got it wet on rocks.
So we had gone to bed, and my husband had gone.
Well, I went to bed, because I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
Okay, so this was February 3rd,
Yeah.
the night of the derailment.
Correct.
And what time do you think you guys went to bed? Because it happened.
I went to bed at like 8:30.
8:30, so about a
Yes.
half hour before it happened.
I was still up the whole time. I was doing dishes, and I looked out my kitchen window and I saw a big fire plume, and I thought to myself, oh my God, that's not good. And then about 5 minutes later, I started hearing all the sirens, and all the fire trucks had to go past my house because it's on Taggart, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. And I thought, this is bad. And so I looked out my other window, and then I saw that the train tracks were on fire, and the train was on fire. The tracks were on fire, and it was very scary. And then it started to get closer to our house. It was up against our fence, and I thought, do we need to leave? Is it going to burn our house down? And so I woke him up and I said, Kevin, there's a fire on the tracks and it's coming up to our fence. What are we supposed to do? And then so he was up for about an hour. And then finally they got the fire stopped on the tracks. And so we thought, okay, everything's fine. We can go to bed. So then we went to bed, and then about midnight, there was a banging, banging, bang on the door. Sheriff's yelling, police officers yelling, get out, you have to get out. You can't take anything, just grab what you have on and you have to leave right now. And then we saw the big fire and the big flames, and it was very, very scary, and they don't give you any time to grab anything like of importance, when we could go back. So we just left that night. We went to my sister's house in New Waterford.
Okay, we'll pick up there.
Okay.
So initially it was probably like 9:30, between 9:30 and 10 is when the initial you heard like the fire.
I heard a
coming.
crack. I heard a crack.
That's what I was
like
wondering.
around-
You saw the flames, but did you hear anything?
Yes, I heard a crack, and I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck was that? And of course I was sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
so I had actually been startled. And then I was like, what the heck was that? And then like 20 minutes later, she came upstairs and she's like, the train's on fire. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I go out to the window, and of course I see the flames. They're coming closer. They're like traveling down the train tracks. Mm-hmm. And they're coming up towards this way, towards the fence. And I was like, I don't know. I said, this is a pretty hot fire. And I said, these embers could go anywhere. Mm-hmm. They could land on something, catch that on fire, and it could be a domino effect. I mean, literally, it could be a domino effect. So basically what she said, the sheriff's department is knocking on our door saying, Sheriff's Department. And they were wailing on it. I mean, they weren't letting up. So I went downstairs and I said, what's going on? I said, and he was like, do you smell that? I was like, yeah, I smell it. He's like, that's vinyl chloride. It's a very dangerous chemical.
Wow. So you knew that night?
Yeah.
Right after?
Yeah.
When a lot of people didn't?
Yeah, I knew.
Go ahead.
I knew. So we had to go upstairs. We had to get my grandson Zane, and I walked out the door, And he goes, why is the train on fire? And I said, don't worry about it. And I said, I just need to get you in the car. So I did. And like she said, we went to her parents' house in New Hartford. And it's just been chaos since. I mean, you know, we don't have a home to live in. We don't have our belongings. And it's just hard to leave everything behind because of something that we could not control.
People do not know where you live and how close you live. And we're going to talk about something that was done to or near your property, but where are you in relation to the derailment?
About 2 football fields away.
Yeah, you're very close.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a front row seat for the whole thing. It was
We had people that were
Traumatizing.
driving into our driveway, videoing things, and we're like, you need to get off our property. I mean, this isn't like this is serious.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to get film on their
and
their phones and stuff, and I'm like, what the heck? Walking around, walking in our yard and just doing whatever they want to do.
chaos. It was just chaos that night.
Yeah.
20, 30 people in our yard and in neighbor's yard. Just
Various types of people,
All kind,
not
yeah.
just first responders.
no, I'm talking about
Oh no, there
just
were residents that were
young
driving into
people,
our,
old people just stopped on the side of the road and would walk in our yard because they could see everything that was happening.
Now, did you leave before? Again, when the big fire came out, you were still in
Correct.
your home.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at that time, how they report over 70 fire departments. By that time, were there a lot of firemen on the scene?
Oh, yes.
Before you left.
Yes.
What time approximately do you think you left?
I think that we left shortly before midnight,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
As we were told to by the police officers were banging on our door.
When I went to work the next morning in Darlington, the other general population, other than you and maybe some others, we only knew of rumors of vinyl chloride. It wasn't really released on the news that I know of. And I heard it from a fireman at work. So you guys knew whenever they came knocking on your door, right?
I believe Sheriff's Department told me that it's vinyl chloride. I'm pretty sure.
That's,
Okay,
their voices were very urgent, very get out right now. You cannot pack, you just grab something, you have like 3 minutes and you need to leave. Seeing the fire and the train on fire, that's traumatic, but then when you have someone coming to your door at midnight saying, you need to grab a shirt and a pair of pants and you have to leave. And because of his history, it was very hard for him to go and have to be part of it yet another fire and be kicked out of your home, not knowing if you can come back. So, those 3 days that we were, like the first 3 days, they wouldn't tell you anything. And then little bits and pieces came out, and we were the last people to be called back into East Palestine, when it was safe.
Yeah. Kevin, one of the reasons this is so traumatic for you is that something happened to you, did you say, when you were 16 years old?
Yeah. Yeah. I lost my my younger brother and my older sister in a house fire.
So I did not know that part. You didn't really, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you in the home at the time?
Yes, I was. Yeah. Yep. My mom was able to get out. My dad, myself, my twin brother, and the younger brother. We had 2 sets of twins. So he lost his brother.
Wow.
Yeah. His twin brother, he lost him.
And the only daughter.
Their ages at that time?
My brother was 10, and my sister was just coming back from college. She was at Bowling Green, and she was coming back for Christmas vacation. And she was 18.
So seeing that fire come near your home,
Yeah, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't know how far I was going to travel. I knew it was hot. I mean, the flames were probably 50 foot in the air at least, maybe even more than that. And I just knew that it was hot, and I knew that those embers could go anywhere. You know, I mean, of course, yeah, they go in the air, but when they come down, they're still going to be hot. I mean, you can experience that from a bonfire. I mean, you have a bonfire going and there's a wind, and that ember will hit the ground and sometimes will light on fire. And that's what I was afraid of. And when I saw it traveling down the tracks and getting close to our house, I mean, my garage is right there. My garage gets hit and it could be a domino effect. And that's what I was afraid of.
you left. Let's take it from there. Where did you go? You left it around midnight.
Yeah, we went to her parents' house that live in New Waterford.
Okay.
Yeah. And we spent the night there. And then 3 days later is when they did the controlled burn, if you want to call it that. I don't call it a controlled burn.
I call it a chemical burn.
Yeah, exactly.
New Waterford is about 8 miles west for you guys, probably.
Yeah.
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 So you went to your mother's, you said?
To my mother's house.
To your mother's, and were you all glued to the next press conference like us, or what were you experiencing?
Yeah, we watched a lot of the news, because they had, by that time, they had quarantined off the city, and you weren't allowed in. You couldn't get into the city at all. And so it was very suspect. We didn't know what was there, and when we were allowed, when we did that controlled burn, we don't know where they let it off at, and so we didn't know if we had a house to go back to.
Yeah.
Because we weren't allowed there. And so it's a very hard thing to just kind of sit and not know and just be helpless like that.
Kevin, did you continue to work during those few days that you were
Yes,
evacuated?
that happened Friday night, and I had to go to work Saturday morning.
So you went to work?
Yes,
Okay.
I did go to work Saturday morning. Luckily, I didn't miss any work. And there's a lot of people at work who say, this guy had a train derailment and he missed one day of work.
Yeah.
And and to this day, I think that the evacuation was lifted way too early.
I do too.
You can't lift that evacuation in 3 days. There's no way. And
So when the evacuation was lifted, did you immediately come back?
We did.
yes, we did.
Talk about that, with you coming back.
Well, we came back and we were getting our house air tested. And
Yeah.
we stayed outside, they went inside. And at the time, I didn't know that those
EPA?
people...
Or was this?
No.
What
This was people that were contracted by Norfolk Southern.
So of course,
Why can't I think right now? Is it CTEC or is it somebody that was contracted by?
it was that they were contracted by Norfolk Southern. They said, we are employed, we've
Yeah,
been
I
retained
can't
by
think of the
Norfolk
company.
Okay, that's okay.
to do the air quality test. And we didn't go in because we didn't know if it was safe. They were literally in there
5 minutes.
and, oh yeah, everything's clear. And I don't know about chemicals. I'm a layperson. I don't know any better. If you're telling me that my house is good, then I'm gonna believe it. But
So yeah, we were there for about a week. We were there from the 9th to I think it was February 9th to February 15th or 16th.
And all the while you're there, trains are rolling through because they look for the
Correct.
Of course,
evacuation,
because
right?
that's what's the most important thing to Norfolk is getting their trains up and running.
Yeah, some people that are watching that haven't, unless you've been living under a rock, but it's funny because a lot of people, patients that come in from just a town over, don't even know what's going on half the time. So people might not know, as everybody was either displaced or huddled somewhere waiting for the next announcement or press conference, when they lifted the evacuation order, my wife, actually I didn't want to come home. My wife said she wanted to get back home, and so when they lifted the evacuation order, I think it was like 5 minutes before they started barreling trains right through.
Yeah.
And so I mention this now so we don't forget. Those of you that don't know, there's a woman that lives by the tracks that I interviewed. The Friday night of the fire, by the time she woke up or she was there, came back that night, Friday night or Saturday morning, they were already bringing in track to repair. And I've said that that's pretty impressive if, let's say that train was full of cotton balls or something and it fell over and then you put the tracks back and they say that's a well-oiled machine. But once they assessed the situation, saw the thousands of gallons of chemicals and what happened, those of you that don't know that have been living under a rock, Norfolk Southern then and Alan Shaw and whoever else is in power, decided to put new track over contaminated liquid and soil and just barrel those trains right through. And trains come through here quite often. But when they lifted the evacuation, you have to understand, trains were backed up for days. And those trains just came one right after the other, after another, like you've never seen here before. So as you guys went back home for those few days, trains were just barreling through, right? Spreading contamination, kicking up dirt and dust.
Yeah.
And
And it was traumatizing to hear that first train. It really was. And then started the symptoms. And I have pictures on my phone if you need them. I broke
I'd
out.
like to put those on the interview.
I broke out in a horrible mouth rash, nose rash, blood everywhere, blood coming out of my ears. He had hives all over his back, and that was just like the second day we were there. Today is February 13th, and this is being taken. We just left our home in East Palestine. We went to get a couple items, and my husband is breaking out in a blister-like rash. I'm not sure what it is. It wasn't there yesterday. It wasn't there before we left. And now he has returned to the hotel, and he has these blister-like marks all over the back of his body. We were literally at our house for less than 10 minutes. And, we thought, well, we were naive and trusting the railroad. And then finally, when it was getting so bad and we were starting to hear rumors about how bad everything really was, instead of, oh, everything is fine, then we were like, we got to get out of here. I mean, we were very, very sick.
Yeah, I said that because she was there all day. She wasn't working at the time.
Yeah,
so I was going to work, and I just, I'd come home and I'd walk in the door and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I said, it smells horrible in here. And it just kept on getting worse. And she was like, I don't know what you're smelling.
Because I just was there, so I was used to
you're
that
getting
smell.
acclimated to it.
Yeah.
Well, how does it make you feel? The husband of the woman you love is in a home while you're at work, and she's exposed to those chemicals all day while you're working, and people are telling you that it's safe.
I feel that I was betrayed. For them to say that my house was fine, that there weren't any chemicals in it, that everything was fine, that's just so much. I just can't. I just can't fathom it. I mean, doing that to somebody.
Yeah, it's almost evil.
And they did that to how many houses? They air tested like 400 houses, I think, and they said they all came back good. I'm like, there's no way.
What were the symptoms you had? You broke out in a rash?
I broke out in a rash. Yeah, and I had like it was a sore throat, and I kept on coughing up blood, and my nose was bleeding. And I was like, I said, I don't know when this is gonna let up. It was like almost a week straight. I was caught. I mean, I could barely sleep. I mean, I'd wake up, I'd be like gagging, trying to catch my breath. I was short of breath.
All the while, the news media, Norfolk Southern, everything is fine. Everything is good.
So I have two things I want to say. Number one, I'm also somebody, although I'm a little further from you, you guys may or may not know, I film the creeks a lot. And it started about a week and a half after the derailment. I had like a triple whammy one week because filming the creeks, and it's when they put the aerators in the park. I got so close that they were spraying on me. They were making my clothes wet. It was stupid. And that day I didn't have any PPE. And then I went to an event, a yearly annual event right down by your house. There was I won't say where. And my wife and my wife, when she went into the building, she said, "Oh my God, it stinks in here, like chemicals." And we stayed for about a half an hour. That night I woke up, well, first of all, I've never had acid reflux in my life, and I had almost as if you had a spray in this bottle. It was squirting into my throat. Horrible pain, sinus cavity, chest cavity, and then I got ready for bed and took a shower. That's Zay and the grandson. Went to take a shower, and I'm taking a shower, and there was probably a teacup-sized saucer-sized welt on my back. It felt like rubber. I was too afraid to even tell my wife because I knew she couldn't sleep. So people that, even if you don't have symptoms at this point, you've still been exposed. Pray to God nobody ever gets sick long term, but there are many, many people that have not spoken out at this point that have been sick and have been affected by this. There's probably a lot more than you would like to believe because I have a lot of patients that I've seen, and they've told me what they've experienced, but they don't want to incur the backlash from maybe the town by speaking out. Secondly, when you say that people, the testing, the EPA, when the fish kill happened recently, when they knocked the bridge down, I was there the day before poking stuff under the bridge, and all kind of chemicals came out. And when the bridge fell down, that creek was loaded with chemicals. This is just a few days ago. But the EPA came down the next day, took all the fish. I wanted to grab some, which I should have, but I didn't. I have a fish and a crayfish that they didn't get. But they were saying that they saw no evidence of chemicals. So I went down the next day with a paper where they said they showed no evidence of chemicals, and I have the paper, and we're kicking up the chemicals coming out. So even our own government agencies are not telling us the truth.
Well, that's what I mainly got from Aaron Brockovich. When Aaron Brockovich came to East Palestine, obviously I didn't go to the meeting, but she said, do not believe anybody. I don't care how big they are. I don't care what they say. You go with your instinct. And that's what I went with a week after we were there, after the control burn.
Whatever.
I went with my instinct. I said it's all throughout our house, so I could smell it. And although they say vinyl chloride, you can't smell it, but you can smell all the other chemicals and the dioxins that come from those chemicals. I mean, I don't know how many dioxins there are, but there's quite a few.
So you returned home, you were in your home for how long?
Probably close to a week we were there.
And then what happened?
And we had just gotten so sick, with the bloody noses.
and the blood in my ear, and I had big
It looked like
sores
cold sores
on
all
my
over her
mouth.
mouth. Yeah.
And he had hives all over his back, and I'm like, we've never had this ever, ever. It has to be related to the derailment. And my parents and my sister kept saying, you need to get out of there, you need to get out of there, you need. And people don't understand that that's your home. That's where your memories are. And it's very hard to make that choice to leave. It's not easy.
So there's the emotional, then there's the financial part of it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. My house is paid off. And I can't even celebrate that because now I have to go and pay somewhere to live.
We have to pay taxes on that house also, which I think is ridiculous.
Explain what you're saying. You have to pay taxes on the house, the house you own.
Correct.
And why is that ridiculous? You're not living there now?
Correct.
Okay.
The RETA tax. That is for all of East Palestine residents have to pay a regional income tax to live in the beautiful city of East Palestine.
Oh, okay.
And it's just insane that we have to continue to pay this tax. And then there's the other law on some old book where if you abandon your house, then they can charge you $200.
They went back to the 70s, I believe.
I saw that.
When that, I don't even know if it was a law then. I don't even know what it was, but they're kind of looking for a loophole there where they can get more money off of the residents.
So are you saying people that are displaced right now are in danger of having to pay a fine because they're not at home?
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's what it's.
Yeah.
It
That's
doesn't
what they're
clarify
threatening.
anything.
That's what they're threatening us with.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this tax, the East Palestine tax, I thought you were talking about like a land
No.
tax. This is some other
It's a
tax.
regional income tax that you have to pay to East Palestine for living in the beautiful city of East Palestine.
Okay. So let's see, you then were there for about a week, and then what? You went to the assistance center possibly, or what happened?
I think we moved in with my sister because they had been wanting us to move in because they saw how sick we were. So we just kind of grabbed some stuff and stayed with her because we just couldn't even fathom how long this would be taking. No one could.
Yeah.
And just watching the news reports and then hearing the information, it's just they contradict themselves so much.
Yeah, we were only
so
getting
much
half
of it
the
is
truth, if
just
even
untrue.
half the truth.
I can't believe anything that they say because they're not being honest and they're not doing what's best for the residents.
And what makes you say, besides the chemicals, they're not being honest? Are there other?
Well,
from what we heard, first of all, DeWine said, "Oh, we can't run trains through this town before this interview's over. We have to wait till the interview's over before we can run trains through."
What interview?
Oh, that interview that they had at the high school, I believe, with Norfolk Southern. Trent Conway was there, and
Like a
few other people.
Town hall thing.
Yeah, I think it was the town hall
okay.
thing. Yeah. Somebody told me that DeWine said, "We're not going to run trains through this town before this interview's over." And guess what happened right after that interview was over? A train went through.
I think that
Not even 20 seconds after that interview, a train went through East Palestine.
And I think that's when they started back up and they had covered all the train track.
Oh yeah,
With
yeah. They buried all the.
they covered it up and laid the track down when they shouldn't have, just to get the trains going because God forbid, Norfolk would lose any money or anything.
We originally talked months ago, like very briefly, maybe on Facebook Messenger or something. And I suck at Facebook, first of all. I can't remember what happened. There was some miscommunication, but the reason we talked, I was shocked to see some photographs. Tell me about the dirt piles on your, I mean, you might as well say on your property because go ahead and talk about that.
So, you know, we weren't living there, but obviously all of our stuff is still there. So I would, at the beginning, before I knew about all the danger, I would go back, get some stuff, bring it to my sister's house. And then the one time that I went back, I saw this dirt pile that sits right on the other side of the fence line.
And fence line, it's like a cyclone fence. It's not a
yeah,
barrier.
it's not a closed fence. It's completely open.
Yes.
And it was not covered, and it was, I don't even know how big it was because I'm not really good with that, but
the news agency said it was 43,000 tons.
Wow.
And it was just sitting there right next to our house, essentially, contaminated, uncontaminated. I don't know.
See, that's what you don't have to worry about. It was all contaminated.
Right.
So whether they dug or whether the trains were kicking up into that dirt, into adjacent dirt, I know it was all contaminated. Different levels of contamination, possibly.
Yeah.
So you had this big mound of dirt right next to your home.
For 4 months.
For 4 months.
4 months. And I took a picture every single time I was there to document it, to make sure I knew when that was there and then when it was removed.
And this was the time when it was still heavily raining, it was still cold, snow. When I first saw that, one of my thoughts was, I'm not saying this is equivalent to the Holocaust, but I'm saying, I said in the beginning, I said, it's kind of like when in Nazi Germany, people just use the excuses of, well, I'm just following orders.
Yeah.
Don't you think a lower level guy driving the front end loader would say, hey, we probably shouldn't put this right next to there. Can't we put it over there? So I know that some workers are just workers and they're very respectful to us. Some are not. And I've ran into some of those people. But I was just shocked that somebody wouldn't have said, I'm not putting that dirt right next to these people's home. So.
Yeah.
And then there was one time where she took a video and I kind of blew it up on her phone and I could see that it was a shallow reading and it was a deep reading. They did 2 readings with 2 flags in the soil. Now, of course, this was like 3 months after the pile had been sitting there.
Wow.
They finally put 2 flags in there stating that, you know, we took a deep reading and we took a shallow reading to see, and I had no idea what those tests showed.
Oh, so you don't know the results?
No.
They just went and did it.
I mean, who knows? They could just threw those flags in there and said, yeah, we took 2 readings.
I don't trust anything that...
Yeah, and that's a problem too. Once you're told it's safe and you get sick, then all their credibility goes out of the window and you question everything that's done, because you pretty much have to now.
Yeah.
So you guys were displaced, and tell me about that. You were at your sister's, right?
Yes, we went to my sister's, and we stayed there for a good bit, probably
3 weeks, I think it was. And then we got, some agency helped us out and they put us in a hotel
for a week.
For, I think it was 2 weeks. And then after that, I moved in with my mom, and we're with our mom right now.
And that is where?
In Boardman.
In Boardman.
So...
About 20 minutes, half hour away from kind of westish.
Yeah.
And so you've been there ever since?
Displaced since February.
Yeah, we've been there since the end of March.
So since you're living with your mother, does Norfolk Southern compensate any type of rent to your mother or anything? Or how does that work?
they were at first, but then they decided that they were just going to give us a lump sum of $1,200, and I don't know where they came up with that number at.
What do you mean a lump sum of $1,200? You mean total?
Yeah, they give us $1,200 a month.
Oh, a month.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
they wanted my mother-in-law to sign a W-9 so that she would have to pay taxes when we paid her rent. And we paid her rent because she's a single woman. She can't afford to have 2 adult people living there, extra electricity, extra water, extra food. So we did pay her an actual rent amount, and then I was told by the assistance center that she would have to come down and sign a W-9, and they would
Wow.
make a check out to her.
Wow. Some people that either are non-empathetic to what's going on here, I could hear it now. Hey, they get
Yeah,
$1,200
exactly.
a month. They're with their mother. Shut up. Listen, this was to no fault of their own. They're out of their home. The home that they live. How many months now?
Well,
Hey.
February 3rd to
It's
going into
August
end of
20th.
August. Yeah.
So you guys can figure it out. Anybody that's cold enough to say, well, they get $1,200 a month, they should be happy. I do not understand that way of thinking, but we do hear that. We do hear that. Especially when they're slated to give $25 million to build a park, which we don't need, and has nothing to do with the cleanup here. So you've been living with your mother.
Yeah, I forgot about that. The amphitheater that they're putting in the park.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
The reason you forgot about it because it has nothing to do with anything going on here.
That's true.
And now, if you were somebody that was excited about bringing money into the town or whatever, you might not have forgotten about it. But you're displaced from your home.
Yeah, we haven't lived there since the derailment. And I don't think people truly understand how traumatic that is. And then, now that it's so bad, we have to now pick and choose what items we can take out of our house. And we're giving up 75% of everything. I mean, my kids, like 4th grade picture that he drew me, or their graduation photos. There's just so much that I'm not able to take. And it's so unfair.
And you're unable to take, you're afraid of the chemicals that are in the pictures? Okay.
We have to pick and choose, and I have to talk to experts about what I can take and what I can't take because of the saturation that's happened for the last 6 months. You can't get this stuff back. I can't recreate their graduation photos.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're leaving behind. Furniture, you know.
Anything that's not solid oak, I can't take.
Absorbent types of things.
My grandson who had a bedroom, he can't take any of his clothes, he can't take his bed.
That was on the back side of the house, so that all got
And there's a reason that a daughter or a son leaves their parents. You know, it's their dream to own their home. You just didn't move back into your mother's on a whim with nothing to do with a chemical bomb that went off here. So you're still living with your mother. And what's the future here?
Well, we've ran into another issue. She's getting married. And my mother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
Her husband had died 5 years ago. And so now we have to find another place to live.
Mm-hmm. For $1,200 a month, good luck.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's when he says $1,200, that's just that doesn't even cover any other, $1,200 sounds like a lot, but it's not when you have to pay rent and electricity and gas and water and food. I don't have to pay that because my house was paid off.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair to me.
The big saying was Alan Shaw said he's going to make it right.
Yeah.
He's making it right.
He's
How
made
do
it
you feel
right.
about that?
He's not making
I
anything
feel like
right.
they're just words. There's just words. There's no emotion in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just saying that to make the residents feel good, I believe.
But we don't, because we're not dumb. We may not be the richest in the world, but we are not dumb. And building amphitheaters and whatever in the park.
And tearing out the pool and putting in a new pool for them. Yeah.
Tearing up grass. But how are...
It's a nice pool already.
How-
Maybe it's got some problems. I don't know. I don't swim in it, but
I didn't think anything was wrong with it, but I just feel like it's wasteful spending. There's no accountability about who makes the decision about where it gets spent. I mean, don't you think we could maybe spend it in a better way than pulling up grass
So-
and relaying grass.
Yeah, I'm going to say something controversial, but it's never stopped me before. Do you know how maybe people displaced like you, and some of the people that speak out, I've heard it many, many times. Shut up, you're looking for a handout, you're looking for a lottery ticket. And I've always maintained from the very beginning, the people that are saying, shut up, you're going to jeopardize our park or our new thing, those are the ones that think they hit the gold mine.
Right.
Well, we don't need, hey, all towns have challenges and problems. I would have to look and research whether even large cities get $25 million, what it takes to get a $25 million improvement on their park. The village is 4,000 people, correct?
Yeah,
Was it around 4,000 people?
I think it's going down. I don't know how many people live in East Palestine now. I have no idea.
What is there something? We all have our own stories. What have we not talked about that you want to talk about, that you want to?
Well, I still don't agree on everything that happened after the inferno. To pull the engine and just leave the scene
Yeah, no one talks
of an
about
accident
that either.
And erase the video.
Yes, Andy erased the video. Well,
And why?
except for 5 minutes before the derailment and 5 minutes after the derailment, we still have that video, or that, whatever you want to call it, audio, I guess. But for him to pull that train off and leave the scene,
That's criminal.
how
Is that
are you
criminal?
able to do that?
If you pull the train off, wouldn't you think you'd probably go a quarter mile down the track and just leave?
Yeah, exactly. That's what you would do if you knew that there was a fire behind you. And obviously, the conductor knew that there was a fire behind him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't know.
not only did they leave the scene, but they left with the manifest in the engine.
That brings a point. You when you say the manifest, you said you were getting little bits of information. Do you remember how difficult it was to get information in the beginning?
It still is difficult to get information.
Well, we're just used to it now.
Yeah.
It's just
Right,
it's a
exactly.
given. I hate to say it, but we've almost accepted it as the way
Right,
it is.
right.
I mean, at first it was like 3 chemicals, and then it became 8, 9 chemicals. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, what was on this train? I mean, they're talking about lube oil. They're talking about acrylate, 2 kinds of acrylate. Vinyl chloride, of course.
And they also said residue of ethylene glycol.
Yes.
Well, now you've got a $35,000 gallon tanker. What does residue mean? Does residue mean 1 gallon? Does it mean 5,000 gallons or 10,000 gallons in that 35,000 gallon tanker? We don't know what residue means. They've never told us.
And even if one of those tankers was full of vinyl chloride, okay, yeah, you have flares there. And you think that as soon as it hits the flares that, yeah, all that stuff's just gonna just disappear, I guess. I think that's what they thought.
Well, we know that didn't happen. They covered the burn pit until late May.
Correct.
And so that vinyl chloride and the other chemicals
All the
just soaked
soil.
into
Just
the
soaked
yeah.
in, yes.
And there's big buildings up there. We don't know to this day if
Right.
they've, if they've gone under the building. I assume it has, but so.
Oh yeah, I would definitely think it has gone under the buildings. Yeah, it's traveled.
What would you, again, think you want to end with or talk about? I want to get something that's important that you individually may have to say.
I'm a lot concerned with the current government in East Palestine because one person's, and I may be wrong, but one person's in charge of most everything and makes the decisions for everything. And this happened to a city. The citizens, we should be helping each other. We should be coming together and trying to find a solution. And when $25 million is offered, maybe talk to the residents, maybe see what we can do other than put this whatever in, and who's going to be coming there in 5 or 10 years? We don't even know if we're going to be alive. I mean, when you're exposed to all of that stuff, it just seems reckless.
No, I'm sorry you have to think that way. This is what people live with now. So when you think about that and what you were exposed to, and people saying that you're just spoiled or you're, how does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, like I said from day one, until you've lived it, you don't know. You don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's like.
I would give anything to go back before the derailment.
I was going to ask you, were you happy family? Were you
Yes.
content with life? Your house was paid off?
Yeah.
My grandson came
Yeah.
every weekend. I don't get him every weekend anymore. He had his own bedroom. This he knew was his room. We don't have photo books. We don't have anything. Nothing. We can't take it.
Without thinking about what other people would think of you by answering this question, what do you think should be done in your case? What would make it right?
There's absolutely nothing that he can make right, because we have lost things that we can't replace. It's I can't even monetarily. I think he should be charged criminally. He's like, just the decisions that were made and how it was handled. I just think it was so wrong.
I believe it was a criminal act to put so many people's health at risk by pounding the
Right.
trains through the soil, through the contaminated soil. But when you're in this situation now, what do you see? What do you see happening? What do you want to happen in your case? Here, let me just say what I think. I think it should have happened long ago. Norfolk Southern needs to buy people out, or the government needs to step in. And when I say buy people out, I don't mean just replacement value of their home. These people have suffered since January or February 3rd, right?
Yes.
So something has to be done. They're not even in their home. Myself, what I want to happen here is, at the very least, I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for President Biden to step in and give us some, look at the interest rates right now. So, in order for me, I met with a builder the other day. You're going to sticker shock just to even replace what we have here. I can't replace anything, my home, for what, I paid to build this home. So, either a low or no interest loan, and with a you don't pay anything until your current home sells, because all these people are paying 2 mortgages. These people here, their home was paid off. They need a new home and a start of a new life. I don't know what you're hoping for, but again, the money comes from the entire country. We have money. We sent $160 billion to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what are you hoping for?
I'm hoping that they will buy my house for the pre-accident value.
Good Lord, don't get me started
I
on
know.
that. Do you know that as soon as I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's fine.
This pisses me off. If Norfolk Southern wants something done that benefits them, it's done the next day.
Right.
When did they announce, we're going to do this pre-derailment value? Was that 3 months ago? And it's
Yes.
still not finalized.
Yes.
Longer than 3 months.
But the kicker is that you have to sign a full and final release for them to even consider to do that. I don't know what's going to happen to me 10 years from now. How can I sign a full and final release?
I don't even know what that means.
That means if you sign a full and final release, you're saying, I'm going to accept X amount of dollars, or you're going to buy my home out for X amount of dollars, and I can't ever go and file suit against you ever again.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
And that You can't possibly do that. So the people that are less educated or may not know the law, they're probably going to take that, and that's criminal, and I think that's criminal. That man knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows how he can exploit people that don't have the knowledge that maybe other people have, and that is so wrong.
And he was on a financial network the other day, Jim Cramer. He was so smug and so happy with their profits and everything. And what would you like to see done in your case?
I think it's basically the same thing. Buy our house, give us the price that it was worth before the derailment. Of course, we have all our belongings in the house that we can't take. I don't know how you come up with that.
And here's the tough thing for these residents. A lot of people lived here, and I myself, I love this. I grew up two towns over, and I've been here 30 years now. I love this town. A lot of people live here because housing is affordable. Even if they buy your home for what it's worth pre-derailment value, it's going to be hard for you to get another home even close to what you have somewhere else.
Exactly.
It's just a fact of it.
Yeah.
I think it should be like replacement value, not the pre-derailment value. So that, you pick out a house and what you think would be similar to something you like or something you want, and then, they pay for that, not just your pre-derailment value.
That's true, because
we're
moving.
Because you get your pre-derailment value, good luck finding a home that you're happy with for the price that you from East Palestine.
We're moving, into a rental, and we've had to go buy a new couch, a new chair, a new bed, a bed. Not the bed. I'm talking just the mattress for whoever is thinking I'm trying to up it. It's just the mattress. This stuff is expensive.
And you're paying for that, right?
I'm paying for that because we have to go and live somewhere now. Well, we have to have a kitchen table. We have to have silverware and bath towels and things that people don't really realize that it all adds up. I've spent thousands of dollars trying to replenish stuff so that we can go and move somewhere, and that's fair. I didn't cause this.
Yeah. How would you guys like to end this?
Alan Shaw, I guess, is in charge of everything. So I think instead of him just saying things, then he needs to put it into action. I mean, like you said, he's been saying that, we're going to give them, whatever their value of their home was. But this was like 4 or 5 months ago that he said that. And as far as I'm concerned, everything has been buried since that point. I mean, like you mentioned about the Sulphur Run Creek and all the fish that were dead in there, and the next morning, all the fish are Leslie Run, and all the fish are cleaned up,
gone
the very next day.
And the EPA says there were no chemicals in there.
Yeah, and all you have to do is take a stick and stir the bottom, and it comes right to the top. How can you not find that?
Don't know. Amy?
That's crazy.
I would like for him to truly be accountable to the people. And instead of building amphitheaters for people that may not even be able to use it, because who knows who's infected. These poor people in East Palestine that have had to live the last 3 months in East Palestine, I pray for them. I really, really pray for them. But
I feel bad for those people because I don't think that they know what they're inhaling every day.
Yeah, kind of like you were at work and she was at home. You guys at least have been displaced out of here. That's the only kind of negative positive of the whole thing, that you're not here the entire time. But there are people down there, and some of those people are angry with people speaking out because they say they feel fine. And hopefully they never get ill later. But go ahead and you finish.
I would really just like him to do what is right. Instead of a $25 million amphitheater, give it to the residents that are affected. Like, and the residents, not the city of East Palestine. Give it to the residents that have truly lost everything, have truly been affected by this. And that's how you can start to make it right. That's never going to be fully, but that at least that's a step in the right direction.
So I do want to thank you for voicing your story and letting people know about what you've gone through.